Welcome back, survivalists. So I have to admit, this Wuhan virus is kind of freaking me out a little bit. So as of yesterday, the World Health Organization has reported the novel coronavirus as a public emergency of international concern. And we have reported cases of this popping up in over 20 other countries besides China. So I thought today I'd put together a video what steps you can take right now to prepare for the Wuhan virus if it does continue to spread, does turn into a full-on pandemic, and it comes to your area. So as of right now, January 31st, 2020, China has reported 8,100 cases with 213 deaths. So this means there are now more cases of the Wuhan virus than there were of the SARS epidemic. Although I do want to point out that currently we're seeing a 2% mortality rate with the Wuhan virus, whereas SARS we're seeing a 9.6% mortality rate. So SARS was more deadly of a virus. But the scary thing is that with the Wuhan virus, the numbers of infected is exponentially growing. Right now, the number of infected cases is actually doubling every 2 to 3 days. So let's say it continues to double every 3 days, and is currently at 8,100 cases. That means we could see as many as 1 million cases in just 21 days. Some experts are saying that they expect the number of reported cases to peak in 7 to 10 days and then start decreasing, and that is a very real possibility. And with the emergency steps that China and other first world countries are currently taking, and with their resources, that could slow the growth and the spread of the Wuhan virus. The scary thing though is when this virus gets to the third world countries that do not have the same resources as China or America. Unfortunately, when that does happen, we're going to see the total number infected just skyrocket. And I also want to note that the numbers that we're going off of are just the numbers that China is reporting. It is very possible that they're actually intentionally underreporting these numbers. In my personal opinion, their pretty extreme reaction to this Wuhan virus is not proportionate to 213 deaths. Currently, their entire city of Wuhan is completely locked down. Nobody is allowed to leave the city or enter the city. All the residents have been ordered to self-quarantine themselves within their own residence. And this action is entirely unprecedented. No country has ever tried to quarantine an entire city of 11 million people before. That's why to me this seems a little disproportionate to 213 deaths. The Chinese military has also come in to enforce this quarantine and provide food and supplies to the 11 million residents of Wuhan. This lockdown has been in effect for almost a week now, and not surprisingly, many of the residents are right now starting to run out of food within their own homes, and most of the stores within the city now have barren shelves. They've run out of food as well. And the residents of Wuhan who were not prepared for a situation like this are now forced to leave their home and expose themselves to the virus in order to find food and supplies. So this is a pretty scary scenario that's playing out in Wuhan, China right now. And I would encourage you to take some steps now to prepare yourself in case this exact scenario comes to your city as well. So if the Wuhan virus does come to your city or your area, you really want to minimize your potential exposure to the virus. And the best way to do this is to shelter in place. And this is exactly what the residents of Wuhan are going through right now, although most of them did not have the time to prepare to shelter in place. So even in a worst case scenario of a pandemic, most likely your city and your state are somewhat prepared for this, and they're going to have kind of your basic necessities taken care of in terms of having electricity and having clean water still. So I don't think that you have to prepare to lose power or not have access to clean water. But the biggest factor to determine how long you can shelter in place for is going to be how much food you have access to in your home. The residents of Wuhan have currently been sheltering in place for about a week, and they're already reporting running out of food. So my personal recommendation is to have at least 1 month's worth of food and supplies in your home. Now, if you didn't want to go that far, even if you at least have 1, 2, or 3 weeks worth of food in your home, that is 3 weeks that you can shelter in place and not have to expose yourself to this virus. Now, one of the best ways to prepare for emergencies like this is to have one of these buckets full of food supplies. Inside this bucket, I have 60 servings of meals, and this bucket will last for 25 years. The food inside will last 25 years. And I personally have several buckets just like this. Now, you can still go on Amazon right now and buy buckets of freeze-dried food just like that. But truthfully, I have a bad feeling that buckets of food like that are going to be running out of stock on sites like Amazon in the next few weeks if this virus continues to spread. So Wise Company has a good reputation for their emergency food supplies, and so does Mountain House. Those are kind of the two most popular companies that are making buckets like this. And I'll have links in the description below where you can find this kind of supplies on Amazon. Now, if you didn't want to go that route, I do at least recommend that you go to your grocery store and just stock up on some extra food. Things like pasta, canned goods, and ramen noodles have a very long shelf life. Now, ramen noodles have kind of a bad reputation in the prepper community, largely because they don't have much nutritional value, but I still like buying them and stocking up on them. So if you are going to stock up on the ramen noodles, I do recommend that you also get some canned meats and some canned vegetables just to get a little protein and vitamins in your diet as well. Now, the next thing you want to stock up on is some sort of face mask. The two most common masks that you're seeing are surgical mask and N95 mask. Now, they have done studies to see how effective these masks actually are at preventing you from getting infected with a virus, and there are some mixed results with that. Now, with these studies, they did find that the N95 masks are more effective than the surgical mask, and that's largely because they create a seal, a much tighter seal around your face, whereas the surgical masks do have just some gaps there that let air into them. But truthfully, right now, you're going to have a very hard time finding either of those online. As of yesterday, almost all surgical mask and N95 masks are completely sold out and out of stock on Amazon. And the ones that are available, people have jacked the prices up 10, 20 times the normal retail value. So if you don't have any of these masks currently, I recommend going to your local hospital and asking if they have any surgical masks that you can have. And most of the time, your local hospital does have a supplies of this, which they give out to the public. Now, one of the biggest benefits to wearing a mask like this is actually preventing you from spreading the virus if you have it. Typically, when somebody coughs, the particles in that cough actually travel up to 6 feet. So by wearing a mask like this, it greatly contains your cough and helps not spread the virus around. Another big benefit of wearing a mask like this is simply breaking the habit of you touching your face. You may not think about it, but people just touch their face all day long. All day long, you're just kind of going like this and touching your face. So if you had that virus on your hand, that's most likely how it's going to get into your body, is by you touching your own face. And by wearing a mask like this, it helps break you of that habit. Now, at the very least, if you can't get an N95 or a surgical mask, I would recommend getting just about any kind of mask. Even a dust filter from Home Depot would help contain your coughs and your virus within you and help prevent you from touching your face and your orifices as much. Another item that you should buy now while you can still find it in stores is a large amount of hand sanitizer. And if this virus gets really bad, I'd be using this constantly. Literally every time that you go out, just be constantly using this hand sanitizer and killing any virus that's on your hands. Another item you may want to get is some Clorox disinfecting wipes. So if somebody in your family does get sick, whether it's the common cold or the Wuhan virus, or you don't know, you want to be constantly wiping down every surface that they touch to help keep that virus from spreading to other family members. And really, just a standard tip that you give to anybody to prevent them from getting the common cold or the flu apply to this virus as well. So you want to be constantly washing your hands. You want to avoid contact with other people, avoid touching your face. If you have to cough, cough into the inside of your elbow. If you want to learn how to build the emergency kit that FEMA recommends every American citizen has in their home, check out this video right here where I go over every single item in the FEMA emergency kit. Good luck this flu season, and let's hope this Wuhan virus is not as bad as we all fear.